Well, hello there, everyone, and welcome to another episode. Today, let's talk about communicating and how to avoid misunderstandings and conflict within your relationship. And some of the tips, the tips that I'm going to give you today are for your marital relationship or your spousal relationship. But keep in mind, you can use these tips in any relationship, any important relationship that you are within. So let's dive in. All right, everyone. The first thing that I want to talk about is actually something that you may be aware of, but maybe you've just never thought of it this way. And when I'm thinking about marriage specifically, or being in a long-term relationship with someone, that takes commitment, right? And so when we decided to be in relationship with this person, we committed to them. Okay, fair enough. However, what I have learned personally, as well as what I see with clients, is that we forget that we have to recommit daily, weekly, right? To that relationship to help it really thrive and to help it be healthy. And so when I think about recommitting, I think about recommitting to all the different areas within your relationship, recommitting to having better communication, recommit to having more intimacy, right? And not just sexual intimacy, that can just be spending more time together, getting to know each other on a deeper level, right? Spending time just in each other's presence, recommitting to having fun, recommitting to making your relationship, your marriage a priority, and not let, things that most of us, have to do in our lives, like work or take care of the kids, not let your relationship take a back burner to everything, making it a priority. So that really is the powerful suggestion that I have. I just wanted to share it right off the bat. And I'm going to share with you what that looks like. But I want you just to think about that for a minute, the power of recommitting to your relationship. Because I also know that if you have been working on your relationship in different ways, right? Let's say you've been to therapy, or let's say you have tried maybe emailing each other or doing a different technique when the two of you are in disagreement. However, it always ends up with the same result, with the two of you, fighting or arguing about the same thing, or not having rules of engagement. Basically, when you are in disagreement with one another, then this episode is definitely for you. Okay. So I want you not to be discouraged by what has happened in the past, and be reminded that you have the agency and you have the power to create something different from here on out. And so I'm really happy that you're here listening or watching, so that way you can take the first step in doing something different in your relationship to get a different result. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a couple of areas here. So a part of recommitment, and let's envision recommitting like the umbrella of this topic. Under that umbrella, there are a couple of things that I suggest we do. So the first thing is embrace compassion and curiosity as your relationship lens. So I want you to think about something maybe that you and your spouse or partner had an argument about recently. And if you can just look back for a moment on that situation, on that disagreement, and look at it through the lens of compassion for both of you, look at it through the lens of curiosity for the both of you, I think you will start to see that many times we think that whatever it is that we're arguing about really does separate us. But what I also know to be true is many times in those moments, what we both need, right, in that moment of disagreement or whatever, is very similar. So in the space when we're feeling so different and they don't understand me, he doesn't get me, whatever it is, those are the true moments where there are a lot of similarities if we just open our eyes to see what they are. Because one thing that I also know that I want to share with you is that in a moment of disagreement with your spouse, both parties are basically looking to feel a certain way, right? So you're feeling, or your spouse is feeling something other than, right, peace. You're feeling something other than being seen or being heard or safe, or, and I don't mean physical safety, I mean maybe like emotional safety, that type of thing. And so think about whatever it is that maybe you're feeling that you don't want to feel, right? That's opposite of what you actually want to feel. And then also just try to have a moment of compassion and think about what that could possibly be for your spouse. And so just taking a moment to have that exercise where you just think about, you are two people coming together in this union, right? To live a life, enjoy each other, create things in life, right? Leaving a legacy for your family, your community, whatever that may be. But the two of you are different. And remember, the different doesn't mean wrong. And I think sometimes, and I know that I've been guilty of that too. And so we have to make sure that we're being really honest with ourselves, where if you think one thing and your spouse thinks another, I want you to honestly ask yourself, do I see their way of seeing things? Am I labeling that as wrong? And if that is true, and, and if you're being super honest, I think most of us would answer, yes, I do think it's wrong, right? I want you just to take a step back and consider just at least viewing it as different. Because when we at least view it as different, that is still the truth, right? That's more neutral than viewing their opinion or their point of view on a certain situation as wrong. Because when I think about, my husband being wrong about something, that's charged, right? I get charged up, and then I start thinking about all the other ways where I think that he may be wrong. And that can sometimes be a slippery slope. So be careful there. Now, the second thing is, I want you to bring attention to the fact that the two of you are having difficulties in communication. I want you to bring that up in a different setting. So don't do this while you're in the middle of an argument or a disagreement. What I'm going to suggest, and this will tie into the show last week where I talked about how to have date nights. And so if you haven't listened to that show, make sure you go back and do that for some great ideas. But I'm going to suggest that you schedule a date with your partner. Of course, it can be at night, right, for an actual date night, but it doesn't have to be. You can go to lunch, you can go on a hike, whatever that is, but spend some alone time with your spouse. And I want you to bring this up as something that is an area of tension for the two of you, and it's something that you want to improve upon, and you want to see it done better. And sometimes even doing it this way, you can invite some humor into it, which is always really helpful. That's something that happens with my husband and I. Well, especially if we look back on something, we'll be able to just like crack up about it, right? Not everything, but many times we are able to look back at something and really, have a giggle at it or a laugh. And so talking about the tension that the two of you are having, in a setting outside of the tension is a great first step. So what I want you to do during this date, I want you to share a trigger that you have in regards to some way that you and your partner are communicating. Now, I want you to listen to me. I want you to share your trigger without blaming them or criticizing them. I want you just to share this through your lens. I want you to share your experience just through your experience, not, if you wouldn't do this and, it's because you do that. No, leave that out of that, because we want them to actually pay attention. And if you're blaming and criticizing them, 99.9% of the time, they have stopped listening and they're getting ready to defend themselves. And so I want you to think of how you can share your experience, your truth, right? I don't want you hiding anything. Share your truth about what a trigger is for you, but do it without criticizing or blaming your partner. And then after you've done that, I want you to ask for what you need. So, maybe it's like, maybe the trigger is your partner likes to bring up old stuff, right? Or old things that you feel like you're working on, or maybe you're trying to be better at, but you feel like they keep bringing it up and dragging whatever it is through your current disagreements. And so I want you to ask your partner for what you need, which is you would like for them not to do that anymore. Now, keep in mind, they are an adult and they can do whatever they want. Of course, we would love, right, the notion that they would hear that need and they would do it. The switch would flip for them and they would stop doing that. Okay. And many times I believe that can be, right, the result for you. However, if that is not the case, I need you to be in a place where you can still have your own back, right? I don't want you in a space where your emotional well-being is hanging on whether another adult does something or doesn't. Okay, so I want you to always have your back. And so the way that I suggest doing that is creating a boundary. And so what that boundary may look like is, and I want you to think about this ahead of time because you're going to communicate this on your date. So let them know that a boundary for you will be if the two of you are in the middle of a disagreement and they bring in something that you've done from the past after you've asked them not to, then you are going to maybe say like a safe word, or maybe you're going to tell them that you need to take a break and you need to go into another room. Okay, so the boundary doesn't have to be some, I'm filing for divorce, right? It can just be a baby step boundary. It can be something super simple. Don't overlook simplicity here, especially if you're not used to having boundaries and actually following through on them. Then I want you to start off with something very simple. So communicate to your spouse, share the trigger without blaming or criticizing them, ask them for what you need, and be prepared to take care of yourself emotionally if they don't follow through on what you need. And you can do that by creating a boundary. That's my suggestion. And remember, another way to employ like the safe word, that's also a way to bring in like some unexpected humor into a moment of tension. So you two on that date, you agree on what the safe word is going to be. Maybe it's like pineapple or velociraptor. Think of something that would definitely like make both of you kind of snap out of it a little bit, because that's the point of a safe word, right? And whatever the action is that you have decided to take after saying the safe word, then you do it, whether it's go for a walk or go to, take a bath, whatever that is for you. You decide what's best for you. Okay. So if you need to listen to this episode again and go back and take notes, I really encourage you to do that. But remember, I want you to do this. And then I want you to give your partner some space to do the same. Allow them to share a trigger, right? Ask that they not blame or criticize you while they do it. Tell them that they can ask you for what they need and that they can create a boundary. They can use your same safe word, or they can create their own safe word. Okay. So I want you all to have better communication. And this is one small step that you can take in your relationship, like today. You really could do this in the next 24 hours, where the two of you just come together and agree to recommit to having better communication. All right, everyone, that is it for today. Have a beautiful day. God bless you. Bye.